Hey, Robert, welcome back to the Decentralized Me podcast. Great to see you again.
Hey, Matt, and hey, everybody. I'm so glad that we are continuing to share in this way. We're going to definitely do more podcasts.
So for today, I wanted to focus on one of ArcBlock's unique features that I think it separates it from many of the existing Web3 companies out there and ecosystems. And I wanted to focus in on Blocklets. Just to kind of get everybody started, can you give us kind of your definition or introduction to Blocklets?
Okay, cool. So Blocklets is one of the most important components. Blocklets is just like a new name that we invented for software components. So ideally, the software is better to build as a component that you can compose them, together, and just like a Lego blocks. Right? Each of those Lego blocks, they're simple, standard, and easy to make. But you can compose those many different Lego blocks into something complex, right? There is a Lego land. You can have all kind of things like animals, buildings. So that's supposed to be how we build software. So this is actually not new. This is when the world of software engineering is coming out and people are thinking about we need to make the software as a reusable components. And this is basically like a dream of every software engineers in the last decades. But this never really yet is definitely kind of approaching this goal better and better, but it's not yet realized. So the Blocklets itself is just a reusable software component. In ArcBlock, we add some more constraints and define some more standard into this kind of a reusable software component, and we call that Blocklet.
So with the Blocklet, I'd love to hear a little bit more kind of behind the inspiration. So back in 2017, right, when you were coming up with the idea of the Blocklet, but specifically, I wanted to kind of hone in on addressing kind of the current developer pain point. How does a Blocklet really solve a lot of the problems that developers have in building for Web3?
Yeah, so if you look at the most of the Web3 applications, and back in year 2017, that's Ethereum, mostly Ethereum applications. When people talking about develop on blockchain, they're mostly talking about writing a smart contract. So as a full application that bring the user full experience, you still need a lot of things. Smart contract is just one part of them. You need front end, you need backend, you need database, you need all those kind of traditional software that you use to build whatever you call that Web2 applications or traditional software applications. They all need it. We just adding a smart contract and some of this kind of blockchain concept into the traditional software architect, right? So back in year 2017, when the blockchain already have a lot of buzzwords, a lot of developers quickly finally and just the smart contract is far enough. So to build a decentralized application, we need a better authentication system. We need a better user management system. And we also need something in Web3, the relatively very new concept. There is not much reusable component that you can quickly use to compose. Everything you have to rewrite from scratch, right? So that's why I identified that to make the blockchain application and the decentralized application really be able to, have this kind of massive adoption, we need to build all those kind of foundation layers. Most importantly is the way to enable the software can be built as components, and then those components can be composed together bigger. This is basically like an empty space because everybody are thinking about how do I create a new token? How do I write some smart contract? Nobody really think about how to make the software as a whole, to develop them, how to deploy them, how to manage them. So that's actually where Blocklet come into space. So Blocklet itself is not just for the blockchain; is a concept for general software development.
So as a brand new full stack engineer coming into ArcBlock for the first time, how would you tell them how is developing with Blocklets different from other tools or frameworks, especially as building for decentralized applications?
Yeah, so sometimes the DApps concept and like smart contract and also include Blocklets. It sounds to be scared to a new developer to enter this world because there sounds to be new concept. But if you are really a hardcore developers, you have all those kind of new concept coming every day. That's the nature of the like a computer world, software world, right? So Blocklet itself is nothing magic. It's just a standard like software components. So we just can add a little bit kind of a like a configuration definitions to make that possible for it to be automatically deployed. So for example, anybody who can write a piece of software and to turn that software into a blocklet, the minimal way you need to just add a definition called a blocklet.yml. The blocklet.yml is just a configuration file. It's a YML. We use this YAML, which is a kind of like a different format equivalent to JSON. Is to define a few of those metadata. For example, what's the name of the blocklet, the ID, which is a unique identifier of this blocklet, and a few others. And so it's super simple, just adding text files, and then you can turn that into a blocklet. And we even create one of the tools called a create blocklet. So the create blocklet tool is a one-line command line. You just install that one-line command line, and every time when you want to start it to build a blocklet, you just create a blocklet, one command line to ask you a few of those questions. Through that, it will create the scaffold of a blocklet. So that scaffold include the definition like a blocklet.yml. It also have a few very popular framework like Next.js, or we have quite a bit selections that you can select from, and you automatically have an empty project that is immediately be able to build, and then you can deploy. Simply just a sample project, you will find it's pretty easy, right? And even more, we have a Blocklet Studio server management console. So for that, Blocklet help you to packaging content into a blocklet, because the content basically means if you have a web page, you want to deploy those web page into a blocklet. So the web page could be like a very simple or some website with applications that you written in, that you can package them as a blocklet, right? And it also could be some of the resources. For example, you have a cool image background or cool icon sets. You can package them into the blocklets. So the Blocklet Studio that will coming together with the Blocklet server is basically like a no-code tool for anybody to packaging things into the blocklet. So that's a foundation tool that we provided with the whole Blocklet developer platform. As I said, you create a blocklet if you know how to write code, or you need to have a scaffold code project to get started, use create a blocklet. And then all those configurations just set up for you. And then you can continue with your favorite language, favorite frameworks to continue work. If you're not a coder, and if your project doesn't really involve a lot of those code, you can just use a Blocklet Studio that come together with the Blocklet server. So it's just to have this kind of web interface to help you to go through that, and then you get a Blocklet built, right? As a Blocklet server, people might ask, where is the Blocklet server, right? So the Blocklet server for the developers, you have this one line, command line, npm install ArcBlocklet. So then you basically install all the tool chains you need into your computer, and then your computer have a local Blocklet server that has the full function, include the Blocklet I mentioned, and include the Blocklet Studio I mentioned, all run on your developer box. And your box is a full developer server, and with all those kind of tools you need to get started. Of course, the Blocklet server has a production version that is running on the cloud or running on your nodes to provide the service for that is high performance, which is basically do the same thing with your dev box. Your dev box is optimized for you to debug, to get started. But the production Blocklet server, you use it to just run it's just like a runtime and containing all those kind of blocklets to provision, right? So we intentionally make or as closely as the production block server. So that basically means in most case, once you have something running on your own developer box, and then it's supposed to be able to run on any Blocklet server deployed either in the Google Cloud or AWS or your servers in your garage or Raspberry Pi. Everything's supposed to be the same. So that's something that we bring on board. I highly encourage anybody who really seriously want to consider develop the Blocklet. Don't get scared about these new names, right? Just look into it. It's very simple.
Let me ask you this question. Who is a Blocklet for? Is it for developers? Is it for builders? Could it be for businesses? Like, who would be the type of companies or people that should be using this?
First of all, I think Blocklet itself is a very general purpose, technical term. It's just like a software, right? It's a package software. It's component based software, right? Who is for? It's for everybody, right? Second, because ArcBlock is a company that try to promote the decentralized applications, right? So I think why we need Blocklet and why we develop Blocklet in this way, we need to understand what exactly is the DApps, right? The DApps concept has been like a buzzword for a very long time, but I think a little people know what exactly is DApps, right? So is a website a DApps or the DApps, what DApps looks like? From ArcBlock's point of view, the decentralized applications, the core part of decentralized application, that's supposed to be decentralized. But what is decentralized? Our understanding is, first of all, it need to ensure the users have the full control of their identity. And right, so let's explain one by one. If you have an application, let's say, for example, if you have an application that depends on Google account, like a Gmail account, that basically means you do not have a full control of your account. And Google decided to, or Google, accidentally blocked your account, and yours and the service that you're using is yours, and you no longer be able to access. Want to first to ensure that you have the full control of your identity. You're there, and nobody supposed to be able to take your account away, block you, or kind of limit your usage of that account. So that's the first part of the DApps. You need to be the user need to have a full control of identity, right? The second, if you have your identity, and then where is data, right? Imagine you are using, Google again, right? All your emails or your data are in the Google Drive, in the Gmails. What if something happened? For example, Google stopped you using their service, or whatever get taken down, and all your data is gone, right? Because you do not have the data on your computer. Your data is on Google's servers. Today, when we use all those kind of different SaaS service, our data is actually in many different people's silos, right? I have Gmail in Google, I have Apple's mail on iCloud, I have like Slack in the Slack server. Each of these servers are different silos controlled by different companies. What do I have? So what I do is I always from time to time, I back up my data into my computer local drive, and I also back up that to different drives and my NAS. So that's for the decentralized applications. The user need to be always in control of their data. Other than the user himself, nobody else can take down the data, seize their data, not allow them to have it, right? So this is, I think I put this as after identity is, if you don't have your identity, no matter what, and nothing is belongs to you, because even you don't even have your identity. But once you have your identity, you need to, ensure that you have your data. I think your website could be blocked by some government agency, or just because the provider does not like you, or whatever reason, somebody try to attack you, and then you lose your server. And then basically means even at the time you have your identity, you have your data, but you no longer have your computing resources, and people cannot reach to you. So what to do? Because if you want to move like your computing from one place to the other, it's not like you're moving your laptop from this room to that room. So that's a third part of the decentralized application. Your computing resource is also follows you. So you can, for example, if I have my website server is completely mine. If Amazon doesn't like it, Google doesn't like it, it doesn't matter. Or even I can put I can still using their cloud computing resources. But once I can move this around, right? And then that means if somebody doesn't like me, and I still have a place to have my software running, right? So I think this is the third part of the decentralized applications. So based on that, right, that basically means you need to have your own data and your own computing, right? So does this exist before? Actually, yes. Ago, when we don't have internet, and of course that computer, as long as it's in my position, I can I can use it, right? In the old days, you don't even have this kind of user. You need to log in. The second, you have your data, because all your data is in your floppy, is on your disk drives. When it's a floppy drive, it's even more portable. Just to have this disk carry around and then move around, and then you can make copies by yourself, right? And of course, you have your computer that use that. But when we have more internet, we kind of shifting things to different places. There is a small group of people like geeks or people call them geeks or nerds. They're deeply believing that they need to have their full control. And actually, the internet was made by those group of geeks who thinking that the network is supposed to be decentralized, because people might know that when the internet was invented, it's actually a military project. So that military project, the goal is to try to build a network system that even the nuclear war happened, right? Somewhere, some city and some infrastructure is completely destroyed. The network should not be completely taken down. As long as the road, the internet is supposed to be able to kind of routing to kind of automatically recover, so people can still get connected, right? It's not everybody. So there's still some Iceland, they're connected, they'll still be able to connect it. So that's an original version of the internet. So that's why only geeks can host everything. So for average people, you can't, because it need extensive knowledge. Also, it need a software that support this. Who is good for most of those kind of self-hosted, probably write their own software. They set up their own servers and they do run. So that's why when internet booming, most of those applications they eventually become more and more centralized. Centralization is not a completely bad thing, because centralization that makes kind of a more efficient for the company to build up things. But the downside is when we become too much depend on those centralized services, there's a risk that you can lose your control of your data. So the decentralized applications is actually a movement that people thinking, what if we can have both, right? What if we can have the applications that make us like the old days have the full control of it? The simple to use, right? There's this usability, and can this happen, right? So that's actually the background of the DApps, right? DApps is not kind of inventing something from the air. It's just kind of trying to have the best things of the internet applications to kind of emerge together, right? So I think if we kind of have the broader purpose of the DApps, we can think that actually Bitcoin is a DApps, right? So Bitcoin DApps is in the completely like a decentralized world. There's no cash. There's no kind of online banking. It's just cash, right? I take the notes, all the coins is in my pocket, right? Nobody. So but then when it become to the online banks, for most people and the most purpose, most of the situation is actually safer and easier for you to manage all your money at your home or in your pocket, right? But that also gave some of the kind of that's also create some problem. And so when Bitcoin was invented, is actually this group of people is this kind of electronic money that is as convenient as today's key, like bank transfer, but also have this kind of a freedom and secure of you completely process it, right? So the Bitcoin is basically this kind of a DApps that is only specifically focused on the money part, the digital cash part, right? So and after the Bitcoin, people thinking Bitcoin is a great vision. Nobody believed that Bitcoin can be anything, right? It's just think, okay, this is a great idea of the geek's mind, but people are thinking, what if we can extend this to more than just the cash, right? So that's how people thinking, okay, DApps. So people want the same. People want to in control. The people also really focus on this kind of a real decentralized applications, right? So to make this decentralized, so I probably talked too much. Exactly is the DApps, but so let's go back to why we need Blocklets, right? Yeah, to achieve this, it's not free control. So luckily, there's a lot of people are thinking. There's a lot of people already working, research on this. So notably, we find the W3C's DID working group at the time. At that time, we started the DID to join the W3C DID group. Is still not an internet standard. It's just a group of people, community people thinking we want to attack this problem, how to solve it, right? They need to be standardized and they need to be portable, right? So to achieve that, we need a standard. We need a standard. We need a protocol, and we also need an implementation of these protocols. So that's how we turned out to invented Blocklet. So Blocklet is this kind of a software package standard and the protocols, and also the implementations to ensure that we take advantage of the decentralized identities and we ensure the data and the software computing resource can very easily be packed into this kind of small boxes like a Blocklet. And then they can easily move it around on the infrastructure that our block built. So if I want to move the data, imagine, for example, if I want to move the data from these users to these places to the other places, I don't need any others' permissions.
Yeah. As you're describing that, we talked about identity, we talked about data, we talked about infrastructure or compute as we go along. How are we thinking about AI as a Blocklet? Is that something that obviously you got agent, we're already working on that, but what's your thought behind that in terms of extending that block to another layer?
Yeah. So when we started ArcBlock in year 2017, we haven't seen today's large language model is going to booming. Actually, at that time, AI is already a thing, right? AI is a very long concept. It's also, just like what I mentioned, like software engineering, reusable software component, that has been a very long time. This is like a holy grail and computing industry want to solve, right? So when we started our blog and big data deep learning already, gained a lot of attention. We didn't decide to start as a platform, but instead we try to focus on one of the applications, which is like we call it collective knowledge sharing. That is let encourage people share what is knowledge. The knowledge include their bookmarks, the information they exchange in your conversations. At the time, summarize your conversation, summarize all your bookmarks, and then turn that into some kind of better, constructed knowledge base. Yes, exactly. Today you can build this now. But in year 2017, it's so hard. The idea is there, but how to find an AI to automatically summary your bookmarks, your conversations, that's extremely hard, right? So at the time, that's actually the time I learned about OpenAI. We actually was in touch with them and tried to look to investigate what the OpenAI's solution was. That at the time they haven't started to do GDP yet. It's just a kind of deep learning, on those kind of unstructured conversations, and the API is terrible. There's nothing you can use. We also looking into that at the time. IBM has this kind of, fantastic advertising on marketing of this kind of IBM's Watson AI.
Yeah.
So I get in touch with IBM, become IBM business partners, and try to use Watson and see if the Watson can be, fulfill the process like our data. So that's all the background. So we haven't touched anything on AI. Already tried to kind of experiment what is the AI we can use in order to build the application. Later in the time, we eventually all those kind of try for the application doesn't really work because AI is not there yet. Also because the Ethereum, development of Ethereum to build this kind of incentive network is also not there yet. We're basically have this great vision, want to build something that based on nothing, right? There's no foundation there. So that's why we pivot and into say, since nobody created this kind of foundation, right? What if we build this foundation? And so that's how we have this ArcBlock platform planned. We focus on building this kind of foundation layer. We have this kind of AI in mind because finding AI that can achieve this problem, that is some kind of things like preventing me from sleep, right? Because hey, shoot, where do I find this? How do I solve this core problem? Try IBM, try the OpenAI, talk to a lot of kind of AI folks. They're mostly focusing and this kind of face recognition technology at the time, but nobody think this is a possible language model to be mature, right? So of course, so it's so naturally for when the ChatGPT, when this go come into, it's soon, oh shoot, this is something that I needed before, right? But now I'm not that kind of eager to use that anymore because my focus is shifted into building I would say I have much more connections and this kind of a sensitive on those space. That's just because, before our block, this is something that I put a lot of effort into it. So when that become more and more mature, I began to realize, this is a time we can bring it back, right? So that's how I spend the time. So looking to have the OpenAI's progress on those kind of GPT models, ChatGPTs, and what are the applications built on those. And then we think this is a great opportunity, the AI's application side into the ArcBlock platform and make them works, right? Works. And so I think this is kind of, we're not accidentally finding AI. Is because we have a long history look into this and also deep understanding of how to use it, right? And even after we find the ChatGPT, we still didn't immediately put that into a framework. People in our community know that we built Astrology, right? We built Astrology Astro. So that's before aging. So the idea behind this is also simple. So that's back to before our blog, and when I look into this kind of AI. So we have a bunch of AI researchers. We joked that today's AI is not it's not useful. The only thing is it can be used as an astrologer because it's so naive and does not. So when I see the GPT become better and it has a lot of hallucination problem, and I think it's great. This is the best time to actually put this as hallucination into work. Now it can produce great writing skills and still have a lot of hallucinations. But if we put that into that'd be perfect, right? So that's how we started as a side project. Like it's basically like a side project. I say, hey, I want to build this as strong art block with the latest AI. And some people without enough humor might think I'm crazy, right? The boss is crazy. The boss want to turn from high tech DApps and blocks into astrology, right? But this is very fun, and this is actually put the large language model in use for the to test water. And when we build it's end up, I think, during the process that we spend like 10 hours working on that, for Astro, that using the language model to create this kind of astrology app, is actually, I think, all those worth it. Because nobody knows if this is going to work, right? Nobody knows can the large language. And we kind of a prototype that cost me the water to then spend weeks and weeks and to do experiment different prototypes to finally have this product and like working like charming. So that takes a lot of kind of iterations, but iteration, I think it's help us to understand better. It help us what is actually necessary to build a serious AI application, right? Not just a very simple like hello world or just a chat, just a clone or like a chat GPT or just this kind of one shot kind of generation, but actually it's a full application, right? Decentralized apps, right? We're trying to build these decentralized apps, but the AI, in the beginning, people all thinking that AI is a re-centralization. I have this model that everybody, run against their server and you have no idea what is there. And the worst is, even what is there, there's no hope you can have your own because that's so expensive. You spend billions to build the model and, millions or hundreds of millions to be able to provide the service. It's not possible for people to have the decentralized version, right? But when we use the OpenAI stuff to build this astrology, and when we have a bigger, better, and better deep understanding of this, we observed the real value of the AI applications are actually decentralized because no one wants to, AI understand everything, AI see everything. So if you expose all your information, your knowledge to somebody else, that's way more scary than you just put your data or put your email on somebody else's cloud. That's so scary. So obviously, the future of the AI application need to be decentralized. It need to be controlled by the user ourselves, right? We need to have the boundary of those AIs. So that's have all those knowledge how to build up, and we AI and decentralization means. So that's why that's helped us to evolve to thinking. Let's build a framework, and let's build a framework of tools. That turned out the name is Agent AI. It's an AI engine. It's also the agent, right? So that's basically we try to make it sound like both sides. Months of the research and the development, we think that we find a perfect spot for the agent system. Because our block ecosystem is a DApps, and the DApps, the purpose of the DApps is be able to ensure the decentralization. But the decentralization, it's always a challenging thing, right? Even with our blocks platform, can we achieve the usability simple to use and the usability, 100% to the today's like a popular website? I think it's very close, but it's still not there. Just because a few extra things you need to take care of, because it's decentralized, because you have to manage yourself, have the knowledge. So how do we solve this? We don't know. We just think maybe we need to make the user realize that they need a decentralization. But now we all find the answer because you don't need to know. You have an AI to help you. So the AI help you. So for example, if you want some application that is decentralized and composed, in the past, we need to figure out how to make it easy enough for average people to build it. You have an AI, your AI know everything. Talk to the AI, you just ask the AI, I want this and that. And the AI can figure out how do I install and compose which blocklet to form the final applications. So that turned out to be AI is not only, the answer of to solve the last problem of the decentralization challenge, but also AI is actually born for the future, massive adoption. You should have their AI, and everybody should have a full control of your AI, right? So our future, civilization is not depends on like a one or two large corporate like OpenAI. They host everything, they know everything, they make decision for you. But instead, there's a lot of intelligent agent that run on our devices fully in our own control. And those AIs, those personal AI, they're only loyalty to myself, right? So they're not loyalty to the government. They're not loyalty to the corporate. They're only loyalty to yourself. So I know that a lot of people probably know one of the dilemma called like the electric car dilemma is basically when I have the AI, does the AI protect the car's driver or should the AI protect the the people on the road, right? So what to do, right? So it's always like a problem that you're not able to solve because if you have a centralized AI like a God, right? It's control, it foresee your car and other people. You have to let the God decide. Should I protect the people in the car, or should I protect the other people on the road, or should I protect this car, that car? It's really hard, right? It's really hard to be a God, right? And so if you want to build an AI, asking the God to make all the decisions for everybody, you're always going to fall into this kind of situation, how to make decisions. But I think with the decentralized AI, the answer is so clear, right? So some kind of a dangerous situation, you have something coming to mind. Should I sacrifice myself to protect others, or should I, keep myself alive? It's all up to you, right? No, nobody should tell. It's your decision, right? So the future AI is all loyalty to ourselves, So it's basically I tell the AI, I give it the rule. So at some certain situations, what that AI should decide. It always, follow, what I want to do. So I believe the future of the AI is decentralized, and that's a perfect match for the ArcBlock platform and ArcBlock's vision.